Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this, shall we? We live in an era where practically every single waking moment is documented. I mean, we all carry these incredible high-definition cameras right in our pockets. We use them for everything, capturing beautiful landscapes, funny moments with friends, or just, totally mundane daily updates. But sometimes those lenses capture terrifying truths that we were never, ever meant to see. Today, we're analyzing 3 deeply unsettling, true accounts derived directly from first-hand source material. These are stories where ordinary people hit record and inadvertently documented an absolute living nightmare.
Seriously, I want you to ask yourself, what is your smartphone accidentally capturing right now? When you snap a quick selfie or pan across a room, what is lurking in the blind spots of your own life? As we unpack these 3 case studies together, I want you to keep that question right in the back of your mind, because what we're about to see brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly porous the line is between our perception of safety and absolute creeping dread. Case File 1: Terror in the Woods.
So we begin in this peaceful, heavily wooded rural area. A hiker is out exploring a quiet nature reserve when suddenly she just feels this inexplicable, overwhelming sense of being completely on edge. You know that feeling? Like every snapped twig made her tense up. And that gut instinct? It actually manifested into reality when she was jarringly confronted outside the park restrooms by a man. He was wearing a black hoodie, a purple hat, and sunglasses. As she tried to just walk away, he followed her, calling out, "Looks like we're going to hit the same trail."
Then, he suddenly pivots his story. He walks back and asks for her help, claiming his red Chevy Cruze had a stuck hood and he needed her small fingers to pop it open. Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is that this is a classic predatory lure. It's a completely sketchy excuse entirely designed to get her isolated near his vehicle. But sensing immediate danger, our hiker cleverly spotted a passing couple and just walked right up to the woman, greeting her like an old friend. Thankfully, the couple read the room perfectly, played along, and the purple-headed man finally backed off and drove away in his red sedan. After that, she practically ran home. She was deeply unnerved, but incredibly grateful she had escaped this creep. So she settles in with a glass of wine to decompress and starts reviewing the short, totally innocent video diary she had recorded at a swampy clearing earlier that day. And this is where we hit a truly terrifying realization. What was lurking just out of sight? Right there in the background of her video, nestled just inside the tree line, right over her shoulder, was the man in the purple hat and black hoodie. He hadn't just bumped into her at the restroom. He had actually been tracking her, silently through the deep woods long before they ever formally spoke. That horrifying climax reveals he was literally waiting for the perfect moment, a moment she narrowly avoided just by trusting her gut and securing help.
Let's transition over to our second story. Case File 2: The Haunted Basement.
The setting shifts here to a quiet suburban home bought by a couple named Ron and Tina. Now, a prior death in the house had them kind of primed for fear from the start, and things quickly got weird. Ron and Tina were completely convinced a ghost was haunting them. They're hearing strange midnight crashes. Furniture is shifting overnight. Ron's favorite Miami Dolphins coffee mug just completely vanished. Ron got so terrified of the basement that they actually started sleeping at a hotel. But a skeptical friend of theirs decided to investigate the basement himself, mostly to prove ghosts aren't real. Upon entering this extremely messy, box-filled basement, the friend immediately notices a highly disturbing sensory detail. The air down there was thick with a terrible smell. But it wasn't the metallic tang or sulfur you'd expect in some horror movie about demons. No, it was an overwhelmingly mundane scent, human body odor. Still completely convinced it was nothing, though, he decides to play a joke on Ron. So he pulls out his phone, flips it into selfie mode, and starts recording a video to send to Ron. He jokingly narrates, saying there were absolutely no ghosts, just all of your useless storage down here. But right as he lifts the camera to show the storage over his shoulder, he sees something shift in the corner of his phone screen. He pans the camera back, just a fraction. And there it was. It wasn't a ghost. It was a terrifying reality. Sitting right there in the corner of the basement, next to a small pillow, a little blanket, and, get this, the missing Miami Dolphins mug, was an unhinged, sickly old man with these plastic-looking eyes. Our narrator drops the joke instantly, runs in a state of absolute panic up the stairs, and literally physically holds the basement door shut. The intruder let out this painful wailing scream, repeatedly and violently throwing himself against the door while the narrator is just frantically calling the cops. When the police finally arrive and the door is released, the man busts through, screams right in the narrator's face, and escapes out the back door. The haunting wasn't paranormal at all.
It was entirely dangerously human.
Let's move to our third and final story. Case File 3, The Midnight Visitor.
We shift now to a wealthy, perfectly safe suburb where our narrator is dog-sitting for his rich boss. He's struggling to sleep, so he stays up playing his Nintendo Switch into the early hours. What followed was a creeping, absolutely undeniable escalation on night 1. Think about this timeline. At 10 p.m., during the dog walk, he spots a shadow. By 1 a.m., a figure dressed in all black, standing totally still a few houses down. And at 3 a.m., a person actively sprinting away from the living room glass, a highly calculated stalking of the perimeter.
But here's the kicker. When the dog sitter called his wealthy boss the next day, the boss completely dismissed it. He claimed there was a neighborhood right behind them full of young kids who cut through the yard, insisting they were just harmless teenagers. Well, this casual dismissal created a totally false sense of security for our narrator going into the second night. He figured, okay, it's fine, it's just local kids playing a dumb prank.
But night 2 proved otherwise. After walking the dog and spotting the stalker again, the narrator looks out the front window a few hours later. The figure in black was standing directly under the streetlight across the street, staring at the house, not moving a single muscle. Thinking it's still just a teenage prankster, our dog sitter makes a chillingly foolish decision. He actually opens the front door, steps outside, and confronts the unmoving watcher.
He shouts out into the dark, trying to get a reaction. Nothing. Silence. So he pulls out his phone and loudly announces he's going to start recording for proof. And you really have to ask yourself, what happens when you challenge a watcher like this? Well, the exact moment the camera was pointed at him, the stalker didn't run away. He instantly sprinted full speed, charging directly at the dog sitter. The narrator barely made it back inside, slamming and locking the front door just in the nick of time. He's sitting there, practically paralyzed in the dining room. 10 minutes later, the terrifying aftermath unfolds. The doorbell rings, then it rings again. The front door handle jiggles aggressively, and then, through the solid wood of the door, a shockingly calm, rational voice speaks a single phrase. "Have a good night." The police were called, but the midnight visitor had vanished, leaving behind nothing but the terrifying reality that this was a targeted, malicious act. Definitely not a harmless prank. Bringing all of this together, we arrive at a core psychological truth: the illusion of safety. Whether you're out in an isolated forest or tucked away in a wealthy gated community, danger simply does not check your zip code before it arrives. So what are the practical survival lessons from this explainer? First, trust your gut instincts, always. The hiker's intuition was her absolute best alarm system. Second, lock your doors immediately. A nice, quiet neighborhood didn't stop a man from moving right into Ron's basement. And third, verify the unseen. Do not just assume that scratching sound is a tree branch.
You know, we document so much of our lives these days, always assuming we're the only subjects in the frame. But as these first-hand source materials prove, our cameras are completely impartial witnesses to the horrors hiding just out of our peripheral vision. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you hold up your phone to record a quick, harmless little video of yourself, who might be standing completely still in the background waiting for you to notice them? Stay safe out there, and thanks for learning with The Explainer.